And it says we're live.
But let's double check first, because that would be so sad.
That would be. It'd be like genuinely upsetting. Do.
Says
we're live. I thought I muted that. No.
But let's double check first, because that would be so sad. It says it's muted.
Like genuinely upsetting. Do. Because that one was not. I had 2 tabs open.
We are so fail at the internet.
We're trying really hard, but we're just super bad at it.
When I woke our cat up, we thought she would behave. She won't now.
Yeah, Tiblet is problemish. So, welcome to another very special episode of a live BFF. We're your hosts. I'm Joe.
And I'm Ashley.
And we're at the BFF Relaxatorium, where we are bringing to you a fight we were in today.
Yes, that we didn't rewatch because why?
It's still too fresh.
It's too fresh. It's too real.
It's too real, Roy.
All right, so if you'll bring up our picture, we could talk about things.
Why isn't it doing anything? Huh.
All right, there it goes. Sorry. We're so good at this whole YouTube live Google Hangouts thing. Anyway, so the today's fight, there were 2 movies that I hadn't seen. Joe had seen everything. And they were actually both from the same round. Tom and Kimber with Wall-E, and then the both of us with Snowpiercer.
Both movies Ashley hasn't seen, and both movies I have.
Yes. I had said that just 2 seconds ago.
I know, but that doesn't happen very often. Very rarely do we watch something because you are the one that hasn't seen it.
I think that's a lot of the reasons why we watch things, but you know, bit de pois. Bit de pois. I don't know. I heard that on IT Crowd.
I don't think you're using that right.
Anyway, so yeah, Joe convinced me this is a good movie. We're gonna watch it. Like, I think it fits the theme really well. I'm like, okay, I trust Joe. He's a smart person.
It should be noted that the question was best post-apocalyptic film, and we made sure to avoid Mad Max Fury Road.
Yeah,
because
not just because we had already reviewed it.
Yeah, but it's kind of a low-hanging fruit for this round, I think, because it's very obviously post-apocalyptic.
Yeah.
But second choice, which we'll talk about later, was also a lot of fun.
Yes, and then later on in the show, stay tuned, guys, because Tom and Kimber are going to be joining us live, and we'll talk about all of the
fan fiction nonsense.
Yeah, because this is a very interesting episode, and we wanted to have some more voices on that.
Yeah.
So anyway, obviously, yeah, like, hey, let's watch the trailer, because we had to buy this movie, by the way. Like, this is not available to rent anywhere.
Which only potentially happened one other time that I can think of, and it actually made us change our mind over what we were going to do for BFF.
Yeah.
Because we did not want to buy Entourage, the movie.
Which ended up not being fought anyway, so yeah, I'm so glad.
It's all well and good.
We did not end up watching that. But for this one, it's like, okay, this is a good movie. I don't think other people will pick it. Whatever. Let's watch the trailer. So we watch a trailer, and I'm just sitting there going, what is this? Because the trailer is so terrible. Like, one of the worst trailers I've ever seen, besides like the Basketball Diaries, which is another awful trailer.
But it made you question at the very least, like, maybe we should give the Basketball Diaries a shot.
I know, right? Maybe that was just a bad trailer.
Yeah.
Because this trailer is so bad, and I look at Joe, I'm like, what is this? He's like, you can tell the people.
Yeah. It's a bad trailer. It's just crap. It's just a bunch of random scenes with like no real cohesion, nothing going on in the trailer. It's just like, look at the train and look at these dirty people and blah, blah, blah. And by the end of it, there was like a short silence. It was like 3 seconds of silence. And I was just like, that trailer is crap. Because I'd never seen the trailer either. I watched Snowpiercer for the first time like 3 or 4 years ago, like right around the time it came out on Netflix. And it was kind of I'm up at like 1 a.m. and I need something on in the background to go to sleep to, and more often than not, I'll put on something I don't care about that looks cheesy and dumb. And I put Snowpiercer on and then proceeded to stay up for the next 2 hours. And then an hour after that, because I was just like so jazzed from Snowpiercer, I'm like, this movie was so awesome. That's just me though.
Yeah. Before we move on to talking about some more Snowpiercer things, let's see who we have in the chat and say hi to everybody.
Got a ton of people. I know Corey was here a minute ago, but he left. We got Eric Austinmacher, Kimber's here, of course, Cal the Kingslayer. Who else? Chase Geyer, welcome again, Chase. Got some people.
Tom's here, of
Tom's
course.
here as well. Chase was not a big fan of Wally. I love Wally.
Yeah, I thought it was cute. We watched it. That was the first thing that we watched yesterday, studying for fan fiction, which we'll talk about that more later. Yeah, I thought it was real cute. We could talk about that more in a little bit. But for now, let's look at the characters of Snowpiercer because there's a lot of them.
We're going to get into our breakdown now. So if you haven't seen Snowpiercer and you want to avoid any spoilers, you might want to move on, and we'll like wave our arms, be like, we're done, or like we'll like check in about 10 minutes or so.
Yeah.
But there will be mild spoilers here.
Yeah. So yeah, this is an ensemble cast, as you can kind of see from all of the people behind the lovely Chris Evans.
Scruffy Captain America.
So, and then we found these cool Korean posters. Or at least I noticed some Korean language. They might have more than one Asian language on them. I don't want to offend anyone that happens to be a speaker of Asian languages.
Yep.
But here we have Chris Evans, who plays Curtis, and then John Hurt, who plays Gilliam.
Which is supposed to be a call out to Terry Gilliam.
Yeah, and they're kind of like the leaders of like the back of the cart, the desperate people on the train.
The lower class.
Yeah, literally the last cart, the lower class people that just happened to be on the train the day the apocalypse happened.
Yep. Or they won their tickets or something like that.
Something like that. Yeah, this is like a super awesome train that has everything you could ever want, and the world turned to ice, and so now people are just perpetually stuck on this train forever.
Yep.
And these people are not happy with the situation they're in, and so they're kind of striking up this rebellion. And then one of the other good friends, Eddie, is really good friends with Curtis's character.
You find out why later.
And he's really like gung-ho about this rebellion and really wants to like, let's go now. And he's like, no, it's not the right time.
It should be noted, Edgar is actually, it did say that the character was named after Edgar Wright.
Mm-hmm. There's like a lot of like film references in this.
The director is a huge fan of all of these other directors and writers and things like that. So,
and then we have Tanya, and now his name, I think it's,
I don't remember.
Andrew, I think is his name. It's
yeah,
in
that
my
sounds
mind.
Right.
So their kids get stolen in the beginning of the movie. Like the evil first class people show up. We need kids. This evil lady in a yellow dress, who we'll see in a moment, measures some kids, and they're like, all right, we're taking you. And so now like these people are amped to help with the rebellion.
It should be noted, Andrew over here, if you recognize him, it's because he played the sniper character whose name I can't remember in Wonder Woman.
Oh yes,
who
the Irish sniper, or
Scottish, the northern sniper.
Yes.
The Wonder Woman equivalent of the Howling Commandos.
He was also the character in this movie that like he did something bad like during the part where the kids are taken, and so his punishment was to have his arm shoved out the train and frozen and then beaten.
He had to sit with his
sledgehammer.
He had to sit with his arm sticking outside of the train at a high altitude on a frozen earth for 7 minutes until it was basically a solid block.
Yeah, instead of like a regular torture. And then two other key characters are, and his name is like, I think it's Nam, and then I think her name is Yuna.
Yeah,
there's so many characters.
And they throw at you really quickly.
Yeah, so like all the names don't really stick because it's not like when you're talking to people, it's like, hey Joe, what's up? Oh no, I don't know what's Ashley. And so this is a father and daughter duo. He's the one that designed all the locking mechanisms for the doors, and so they need him to hack the doors, and he won't go without his daughter, and also he won't go without payment of this drug called Chronal, which plays a key point later.
It's kind of like it's not even really intended to be a drug. It's like chemical waste from the engines.
Yeah.
That people get high off of.
Yeah, because in circumstances.
Right.
And then finally we have our villainous characters, Tilda Swinton. And I can't quite remember the actual character's name again, but she is just
the best.
I love her. The character design is so awesome.
And she's like hammy and fun, and
she has these fake teeth that are really cool as well, and she is just delightful. Like Tilda Swinton is such a chameleon
Yes.
in every role, and you just want to punch this lady in the face because she is pretty terrible. And then we have Ed Harris, who is the designer of the train, Willard or Wilford?
Wilford.
Wilford. There's too many W names lately.
And it doesn't help that we just came off of a fight where we were talking about Blade Runner, where I can never remember Wallace.
You remembered it this time.
I know. I've been trying to. So there's just a ton of characters that they throw at you. Some of them they don't even give to you till the end, and then some of the characters you get early on die early on.
Yeah, there's a lot of death in this post-apocalyptic train ride. And then this is the lady that takes the kids, and then you can kind of see the kids
in the image.
In the image, chosen for their stature. They're like under 5 years old, and all of that.
Yep.
So a huge cast of characters working together for this rebellion. But not everything in the movie was perfect.
Nope.
So what were some of your gripes?
All right, so the movie starts off really slow. And like they kind of talk about like it's going to be rebellion, we're going to do this, and they don't really like set anything up accurately or well. Like they try to in the very beginning, like almost like how Blade Runner does, where they give you a little blurb on like this is what's happened to the world, but at the same time they don't really give you that much. Like people are on a crappy train and they're abused, and some dude just lost his arm and some kids are kidnapped. It's a bunch of really quick, terrible scenes that don't cohese together really well. So the beginning just feels disjointed.
Yeah, Edgar and Curtis talk a lot about like we're gonna do the rebellion, and Curtis is like, it's not time, dude, calm down. And you can tell that Edgar is like really like upset, like, hey,
come on, man, we gotta do this. We gotta do this.
Yeah, we gotta do this.
Bucky to his cap.
Yeah. So that was kind of annoying. It's like, when is this going to happen? Like, is this going to be one of those things where it's like, we're going to plan this whole rebellion the whole time, and then nothing happens until like the last third of the movie? I would have been real annoyed if that were the case.
There's also some parts that slow down, like at least once or twice in the movie, like in the middle, where like after they take the water cart, they rest. They like sleep for the night, and it's really kind of drags. Like it's just a conversation between Gilliam and Curtis, and they just kind of like they talk about like, oh, I had them washed so I could take stock of the damage, and I can do this and we can do that, and we got to take the front. It's like they repeat basically the same stuff they said earlier in the movie about taking the front of the cart, and things will be better when we take the front of the cart.
And is this when he mentions the fact about like, well, I have 2 arms, what good am I? It's like, dude, you have 2 arms.
Yeah, I think it's supposed to play up the fact that like he hasn't sacrificed anything, and everyone else has.
He's
but
more of a coward.
He's got 2 arms and he can do things.
Yeah. Another scene that really bothered me later on, and this is like revealed in this is a 3rd act reveal, and like, okay, like you see that, like, why would Curtis not think he's a hero? He's organizing this rebellion and
he's
all
trying
of
to
that.
take the train back for the people.
And so then he's sitting there and like revealing this huge thing about like when things first started to go down, when everybody was on the train.
It's like the first month people were on the train, there was no food and no water.
So cannibalism started to happen, and people started to
eat each other and eat.
And he said this very poignant line that I know that babies taste the best.
Yeah, the worst part is I know that babies taste the best.
And then he goes into this story, and like the way the delivery is very corny.
The only payout that's beneficial about this is it ties 3 of the central characters together, and it's him going to eat this baby, and then some guy comes up and cuts off his hand or something. He says like, no, eat this instead. And the guy who cut off his hand was Gilliam, and the baby that Curtis was about to eat but instead ate a hand was Edgar.
And he killed Edgar was Edgar's mom.
Yeah, so it's why he felt this attachment to Edgar for part of the movie, and that's why Gilliam is so important, is because of the inspiration of the sacrifice, which brings everything else. But the delivery doesn't help that impact.
Yeah, it was so awkward the way he delivered the lines, and just like like in the 3rd act, we're gonna have like this big reveal.
For those of you that have read my Final Fantasy 15 review, it's much like Chapter 13. kind of like, here's all this random exposition we weren't expecting.
So Cal wants to know, so this takes place after Captain America is defrosted?
Perhaps. It's Earth 749 instead of Earth whatever. I don't know what Earth.
I don't know
the MCU is. The original, the main comic line is 616.
Anyway, so this scene was just really awkward and out of place. Like, all the other scenes with Chris Evans were really good, but this one just felt really weird. And not just because he was talking about cannibalism. It was just the way he delivered the speech that it was like, this is weird.
It's in this scene where they're at the door to Wilford. It's Wilford.
Yes.
Wilford's room, the front of the train, and then like the security guy, whose name we can't remember. He's
Nam,
like,
I think it's Nam.
Nam. Okay. He's like, nah, I don't want to blow that door up and get. I want to get off the train. Like we don't need to mess with Wilford. Let's just get off the train. And then it launches into this huge thing where Curtis starts talking about like why we can't just stop now. It's because everyone's risked and sacrificed so much and everything else, and it's just, I don't know, it wasn't delivered well. And it's one of the rare not super great performances in this film, because everything else about this film is just beautiful. Yeah.
Just like to say hey to Dub, who's just joined us.
Welcome, Dub.
Another gripe that we had in the movie was the scene where he's like shooting the train, and at this point you know that the cold equals death. So why would you expose and risk people?
Especially the school cart.
Yeah, and then you see like the other guys trying to plug the hole back up that he's made.
There's basically a part where this train's going on this loop, and the guy in the suit, the gray suit there, Franco the Elder, is using that loop to try and shoot at Curtis and the other people on the other side of the loop through it.
Which doesn't make any sense.
It's like it's really dumb, but it works for an action movie.
Yeah, and then Franco the Elder, he was kind of an awesome character.
Oh yeah,
the strong, silent type. But there was one part where like there's this scene in the bathhouse, and he gets knocked out. You think he's dead, but then
he gets stabbed. He's got a knife in his ribs.
Yes.
Like he's left there with a massive blade in his ribs.
And he just like wakes up later at the most convenient time, and other characters do that too. So it was it took me out like, okay, like you should make it clear that they're not like totally dead or whatever. It felt just kind of random to me that it's like suddenly we're all alive again. Like, okay. Interesting.
Right. So we talked about what we don't like, but there's plenty that we did.
Yes. For one thing, Chris Evans is just overall pretty great in this movie, and here he is taunting Tilda Swinton with these protein bars.
They're at a part where like there's a cart full of fish, and there's a guy that makes sushi, and they talk about like it's a super delicacy. They can only have sushi twice a year because they have to maintain the ecosystem and everything else.
Everything has to be in balance, which is a big thing in this movie. Yeah. Everything in balance, the ecosystem, the number of creatures.
So there's a sushi chef making sushi for everyone. They all get like one piece of sushi. Can't have too much. Everybody only gets a little bit.
Yeah.
And she's like, oh, goody, sushi. He's like, no. Takes the sushi away. He's like, you get one of these protein bars.
And earlier in the movie, we see that these, this is what the people in the back of the train get to eat.
That's their food. Is
and then they get to a cart where they learn what is in these bars.
And it's just ground up like roaches and crickets and bugs.
Yeah, I mean, that's a lot of protein, but yeah, that's disgusting. Yeah, and they're like, I couldn't find a picture of him looking horrified at the bugs, but his face was brilliant.
He looked like he was about to vomit.
Yes. My favorite sequence out of all of the carts was the one where they go to the little school train.
Yep.
This is the best sequence of events in the whole movie, in my opinion. It's
a train for, I guess, the kids of the people at the front of the car, or towards the front of the car. The teacher is played by Allison Pill, who played Kim in Scott Pilgrim, their drummer of Sex Bomb.
Yes.
And she is a genius in this. Like, her performance is beautiful. And we get some of the best of Tilda Swinton's character in this. And they drop some lore on the world, like, of what's gone on. You find out the history of the train through propaganda.
Yeah, the propaganda film is so brilliant. The kids just keep spouting out all this hate towards the people from the back of the cart, and like the teacher is just like has no qualms about them saying all these ignorant and hateful things, and Tilda Swinton's character's like, okay, let's be nice, they're not that bad, guys.
So there's also one bit of symbolism I just realized I thought was really interesting. There are two kids that have lines in this scene. There's one kid in the very back who's really friendly and helpful. When they're like, hey, have you guys seen these kids come through? This kid in the back is like, yeah, they came in from here and went out that way. And then when the parents asked, like, were they crying? Were they upset? It's like, no, but they looked like they wanted to cry. Like, he was being helpful and friendly. And then the kid that's snotty to them
is up at the front of the class.
At the very front of the class.
Nice.
So I don't know if that was intentional or just placement or whatever, but that's really awesome. I never thought of that before.
Kimber said Ash would like the school train. Of course. You know, I got to compare pedagogy, and this teacher would not worked out at our school. She would have been in trouble. Because, yeah, the propaganda, and then I think the next picture I have, yep.
So
called Dab Train.
They do this thing where they talk about the train being this eternal engine and this amazing train and how it's a strong train. And these kids are singing this song, and they do their little dance. And they look like they're actually doing like the Usain Bolt thing where he's like boom, but it looked like
they were dabbing
in unison.
And I love the horrified look that Chris Evans has. Like, what is wrong with all of you?
The fruit is going on.
But this is great because, like, in elementary schools, like, there's a lot of songs to help teach concepts because music helps children.
Yep.
So I mean, this is just the propaganda version of the, you know, like what would happen in a normal elementary school.
Yep.
Yeah, they're being fed this information to, you know, keep people complacent and happy, and, you know, it makes sense. It's a dystopian society, post-apocalyptic. Of course, you're going to have the haves and have-nots, and I love how, like, once we start getting into the upper class areas, like, this is the bright colors of everything, how everybody's dressed so very nicely. Like,
there's an abundance. Like, look at the walls in here. There's just stuff
It's so
everywhere.
colorful. There's windows, because in their part of the train, they didn't have windows.
Yep.
So like, the use of color in this movie is something that I thought was really good. And then, of course, Tilda Swinton, we've talked about her a lot. Some things went down, and she's being blamed for it and, like, begging for mercy at this moment. Like, she did not do this whole situation with at one point in the movie, they think that bullets have become extinct because she calls the guns useless. Why are you pointing that useless thing? But it was all a trick. And
well, to be fair, those guards didn't have guns either.
Yeah,
or didn't have bullets in their guns.
Yeah, but then it was like they found
but lots of people.
more.
It's more like people towards the front of the train had bullets.
Yes, and so yeah, this is
which, when you think about it, it makes sense.
The train, they don't need bullets.
No, it totally makes sense why the guards in the back of the train didn't have bullets. When you think about the ending and what they talk about and everything else. Mysteries. Anywho, so yeah, this is her begging for her life, and she is arguably the most upsetting death of all the people from the front.
Just because her character is so dynamic and
likable,
deliciously evil.
Yeah, it's not the kind of likable that you empathize with the character, but like losing her as a character in the film just hurts the fun you have.
Yeah, because she's having to like go through these carts with them and be like, everything's fine, keep calm and carry on kind of thing. Oh no, we love the people in the back of the train, and
they're the best.
Yes, and everyone's looking at them like horrified, like who are these gross people? Cool action sequences as well.
There's a part where they're in a cave where the train's going through a really long cave, and they shut the lights off, and these people that they've been fighting for a while now have night vision goggles.
Yeah, because, you know, they have money.
So the entire fight is shot through the view of someone with a night vision scope, and it's reminiscent of Kick-Ass when Big Daddy goes on that spree, or no, Hit Girl goes on the spree with the night vision goggles and just like beats a bunch of people up. And it's reminiscent of that, and it's really cool. And like a lot of the action scenes in the movie, this movie goes through it without a whole bunch of music, like really heavy music. It's not distracting. Like there's something in the background, you can hear it there, but it's mostly the sounds of combat.
And then, because this is where a point where you're like, there's no way our rebels can win because they don't have the proper equipment. But then somebody had a match and it's like, hey, call back, tell them that we need fire. And so then the rebels get the upper hand by fighting with torchlight.
Yep.
And, you know, because if you have night vision goggles and if you see torchlight, that's going to blind you basically. Yep. So then that becomes a useless thing. And like I think this was probably the best action sequence in the movie was this torchlight battle.
It was pretty awesome.
It looked really cool, the axes and just the imagery. This is where a lot of death and chaos happened, so we lost a lot of great characters.
We go from a solid large amount of people fighting in a rebellion to like 7 people from this. There's like 30 people from the back of the train fighting at this point, and it drops to single digits.
And then Joe's favorite moment.
Yeah, so this is... There's at the beginning of this huge fight scene with these dudes in like butcher's gear and balaclavas. They bring this fish that they gut in front of them and then start wiping the blood on their axes, and I'm just kind of like, they're not going to get the symbolism of gutting a fish.
Yeah.
But the fish serves hilariously at one point because Curtis slips on the fish. It gets just left out in the middle of the battlefield, and Curtis falls flat on his back from the fish.
And apparently, Chris Evans was like, "What is this?" And the director had to convince him that like this is a good scene.
And as dumb as it is, it works so well. It breaks the tension, but in a positive way. I laughed so much.
It was pretty great. Yeah, definitely a tension breaker. All right, so we're going to give our rating, and then we're going to call in our friends, Tom and Kimber. So I want to hear from you.
I'm going to give this movie a solid 9.
All right.
It's good. It's fun. It's action-packed. It's got a cool post-apocalyptic vibe that's slightly unique because we even talked about it when we were watching the movie, that it's not like your typical blasted desert world. It's a snow world, which isn't your normal post-apocalyptic. And the origins are really cool. I would give it a 10, but the parts that hurt it really hurt it. The slowdowns, the weird exposition at the end. It does hurt it enough to drop it a full point. But other than that, it's beautiful.
Yeah, I really enjoyed this movie. I was very pleasantly surprised by it. The ending was a little, I mean, I don't mind an ambiguous ending, but like, I felt like there's no way that anybody would survive the situation that's presented at the very end. And with just a couple of other scenes that I felt kind of detracted from the piece overall, I would go 8 out of 10 because I really enjoyed it. Like you said, like we watched it really late at night, so I was worried like, oh no, I'm going to fall asleep during this movie, and then I'm going to be really not prepared for fan friction.
We started at like 12:30.
Yeah, but I was pumped, and then I was like awake for several hours after that. So I had like kind of the same experience you did, except I was intentionally watching the movie.
So, hey, it's back to us.
Woohoo!
So at this point, we invite Tom and Kimber on. Is that where we're at? Tom and Kimber, we have sent you a link. Feel free to join us. Please.
Yes, because we want to talk about all of the fan friction
It's
stuff.
your ticket to the front of the train. Just come on up. We can talk.
Yeah, there was a lot of strategery, to use an old political phrase, in trying to pick our answers for this fight.
And there's Tom and Kimber. How's it going, guys?
Hi. How are you?
We're good.
Good. Thank you for joining us on this live BFF.
We appreciate it.
Of course.
Thank you for having us. Mavis heard
So,
you guys. Mavis heard you guys going over.
Aw.
Well, we have Atticus behind us, but I don't know where Tiblet went.
Yeah, our cats are asleep, so we're just going to leave it that way.
We're going to capitalize on it. So, have you guys seen Snowpiercer before?
No, I think we know enough about it, though.
We watched a lot of things on Snowpiercer yesterday.
Yeah.
It looks very strange. I'm not going to lie.
It is really weird.
Yeah, especially if you watch the trailer, at least the one that's on Amazon. I know movies have tons of trailers, but it was awful. The trailer was so bad, it would make you not want to watch it.
Yeah, we didn't see that. We saw some, we watched like a CinemaSins on it, and like more like breakdown videos and discussion videos type stuff than actually watching the trailer.
It's fair.
Yeah, CinemaSins would be a good one to find like a lot of flaws in a movie. That's a good fan fiction prep strategy. So I'm gonna note that for later.
That's a pro tip for you guys. That one's on the house.
Thank you. We really do need the tips.
I mean, you guys.
I meant the audience. I meant the audience, not you guys.
So,
I have a question.
Go for it.
Do they have a side ecosystem for the axefish?
A side what?
Ecosystem for the axefish.
Yes, there's actually a scene where the sushi scene we were talking about. The entire train is like an aquarium that surrounds the walkway of the train. So I'd imagine that's where the axefish came from.
Yes.
Waste of a fish.
Right? That could have been like another 4 pieces of sushi.
Easily.
Yeah, there's a lot of suspension of disbelief in this movie.
Yeah, did you notice that the only 2 groups of people to wear masks are the axe people and the children?
There were some people at the party wearing masks too, but they were like just like eye masks. And in general, yes, other than that.
I thought that was cool.
Yeah. Yeah. So you fought Wally against Snowpiercer, and honestly, I was kind of sweating it going in because Wally is a beautiful movie. It is a gorgeous movie. It has a fantastic plot and cute little robot characters.
Yeah. What was y'all's strategy for picking all of your answers? Because like we all know each other so well and we have a lot of similar tastes. So was there a lot of like back and forth of going, I wonder what they're going to pick. What should we pick? Because that happened in our house.
A big determination of what we pick is something that we're definitely passionate about. So I think we went through those lists first and then tried to apply them.
Also didn't want to, like you guys talked about, pick something like Fury Road, which felt like low-hanging fruit, and also made the possibility of us picking the same answer a lot stronger. Yep. We wanted to fight something different, and again, something that we liked. And we threw out lots of ideas, and Tom suggested Wally, and I just really liked it when he said it. So the second I heard it, it just clicked.
That was
and that's
it for y'all.
And I mean, we're honest when we say that's one of the scariest post-apocalyptic worlds. Like, we did not like the idea of.
I mean, everything I said, yes.
No, I would not want to live in either, and I think that's the whole goal of a post-apocalyptic world. Is it's not a world you want to live in.
Yeah, you're not supposed to look at that as this is an example of what humanity should be. Definitely not.
I guess technically Star Trek is post-apocalyptic, though.
So Star Wars, I guess.
Man, Star Wars has been through so many apocalypses. They're like perpetual apocalypse.
But yeah, that's one of the reasons Joe is a real strong advocate to not pick Fury Road, because like I really like that movie, and I'm really bad about like I'm gonna go with the most recent thing I've seen, because like I get like so like if it were not like me picking the questions or whatever, if I was not fighting, I could come up with 1,000 answers for every question. But when you actually have to fight it, it's like, what do I want to pick? Oh no. But now I forgot every movie I've ever seen. Like I just get like this just blank draws in my mind of like I don't know any movies, and it's like I know what Mad Max Fury Road is. That would work. And Joe's like, that's too obvious. I'm like, okay, well then you pick something.
Yeah.
For me,
sorry, we wanted to pick something we were definitely familiar with, because I would have picked, if it was just me fighting, I would have picked Children of Man. I think that's a beautiful post-apocalyptic movie, and like, I don't know, but Kimber hadn't seen it.
Yeah, and
so
I wanted to say about Fury Road, like, I don't want to take anything away from Fury Road, because that movie is excellent, and it could easily have won this fight because it's that good of a movie. So just because none of us picked that movie doesn't mean that it wasn't a great contender for this answer.
I feel like there are two thoughts that I have about Fury Road for that. Like, first is like what went into me wanting to pick a post-apocalyptic movie is like a movie where you could not have that story without it being set post-apocalyptic. Fury Road, you could modify and tweak a few things to make it like current. Like it could be like a crime lord and some like a Steven Seagal film or a bad Rambo film or something like that, where you had like a crime lord and his general like standing up to him, and Rambo's caught in the middle of it all, or something like that. It's not the same, of course, but you could take the base plot and modify it. Or the other obvious one is like when we have those discussions where it's like, other than blank, what's the best of this category? And Fury Road is definitely the blank one, because it is a beautiful post-apocalyptic film. That storm. The storm.
Yeah, no, I fully agree.
But yeah, it was definitely a lot of, well, Tom and Kimber could pick this, so let's pick something else.
Yeah.
Any of those like big disaster movies, like Day After the Day, or whatever.
But that's like during apocalypse movies.
Yeah.
It's not like a post-apocalypse.
Or then when we were watching the movie, I'm like, wait, could we have picked Running Man? Is that a post-apocalyptic movie?
It's more dystopian, but it would work either way.
Yeah, because I mean, their future is terrible.
LA's been destroyed.
And there's a lot of propaganda and
scraps.
Back again with the scraps.
Oh, we're never going to live that one down. Justin in the comments was saying that my description of like blanking sounds like test anxiety, and I think it's exactly that.
It is. That is pretty. It was brought up. You talked about like jumping to the last thing you saw. I did that in the speed round where it's a show with music,
Yes.
And I'm just like, Toast of London. It's the most recent stuff we've watched. So
I know. Luckily, you recommended that to me recently, so I was familiar. I would not have known that show without you guys. So thanks.
So
glad to help.
We intend on watching Flight of the Conchords. It's something a few of my friends talk about too, but they talk about more about their stand-up stuff than their show itself.
Their show is really great. It's hilarious. I actually got Morgan into it when he came to visit. He hadn't seen it before, and I think he ended up binging like half of it here and then went home and finished it on his own. So
Nice.
it's a great show.
Any other questions?
Did y'all talk about what was your second choice besides Wall-E that y'all both agreed on?
It was Fury Road.
Okay.
Mine was Thunderdome. Like that was what I was kind of like. Thunderdome is super post-apocalyptic. Master Blaster, Bartertown, everything.
Yeah, I tend to like pick the passion answer, and then like my second answer is like one that I feel strongly that I can fight with it if I have to. That's
because I'm super passionate about Thunderdome as well. It's actually my favorite Mad Max film.
Yeah, and other movies that we had talked about, like maybe The Matrix.
The first Matrix, specifically, because it's good.
Yeah, because we've seen that a lot. Like we had to write a paper about it when we were in college. So like I feel like I could, even if I didn't have an opportunity to rewatch that, I could pull things from it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to think of what else, if there was another one that we thought of that wasn't a Mad Max.
Well, others we brought up that we were like, yeah, we could do that.
I think we also talked about maybe Zombieland.
Yeah, Zombieland was discussed.
And then also trying to see if we could sneak in Shaun of the Dead, but that's more like during an apocalypse.
And it never really even reaches apocalyptic levels. Things go back to normal by the end.
Yeah. But I was like Shaun of the Dead. It's a fun movie.
Too. But for the same reason, we were looking for something that was clearly like post-apocalyptic.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, because I like 28 Days Later a lot, but that again is during the apocalypse kind of. And if you're like, oh well, what about 28 Weeks Later? I don't think it holds up as well as 28 days. So
that's why, like, you could argue for the second or third Matrix movies because you actually see Zion and you see the state of the post-apocalyptic world, but those movies are crap.
Yeah, I've never even seen the third one. I heard so many bad things. I was just like, I'm not gonna go.
The best part about the Matrix sequels is Monica Bellucci in the white latex dress. That's the only reason to watch.
I also like Agent Smith. He hams it up so well.
Fair enough.
Well, I think he's the one.
Yeah, there's a lot of those theory stuff for various things. Like it was mind blowing whenever we determined when we were like going through the film school or the film class we took where we talked about this movie, and you're, I think, the only one that got the paper right.
Yeah, or at least according to the professor, like I was able to substantiate my argument about Neo being the one with enough evidence.
Well, that it was Morpheus was the main character.
Or I forgot what it was, or like what the plot of the movie was. It wasn't that Neo was the one; it was them realizing he was the one with my thesis. And I got 100, so
yeah.
I mean, if that's wrong, I got 100.
I think I brought this up before, but for an English
like to change that
midterm, for an English midterm in high school, I wrote a paper on how the Matrix is the House of Usher and how it feeds off of psychic energy. I love that paper. I bring it up all the time. It's one of my favorites.
Fun
you
times.
Actually made
Oh, I said your guys' argument. It's interesting that you bring the Matrix up because your guys' argument against Wall-E was almost as if you were like, it was the whole like staying in the Matrix is what you guys would be for, and we were arguing about like not wanting to live that life, to have free will. So that's fun.
I wouldn't either, but
I wouldn't want to live in either of those worlds. But you know, you gotta try to die on some hill on fan fiction. And if it's the complacent,
I'd rather eat pizza in a cup than cockroach Jello. I mean, that's just where I'm at, but that's me.
That Jello looks so gross too. Like it looks like Ricola. Those little like throat drops.
Mm-hmm.
And now I'll never be able to eat those throat drops again because I'm gonna think of Snowpiercer. And then you ate Jello at lunch.
Protein Jello.
Like, what's wrong with you? It's always a fun time at our house.
But yeah, what's the next step? Where are we at?
Yeah. You want to talk about any of the other rounds or any of the other?
You guys want to talk about other rounds?
I mean, you're our guests.
Sure.
Yeah.
All right. So yeah, it was a blast. The whole episode was a lot of fun.
Yeah, we knew we were gonna lose the Blade Runner round.
Yeah.
Before the show, before even the answers were picked, I'm like, well, we're dead.
We talked about it last night too on the way home after our second viewing that we probably should have chosen Joy, the AI girlfriend of Kay.
Yeah, you might have played towards Jack's sensibilities with that one because clearly
if we had known.
Didn't you really like that character yourself?
Yeah, I liked her too, but like for me, I mean it when I say that there is one choice in those movies for me, and it is Rutger Hauer as Roy Batty. He is absolutely an interesting part of Blade Runner to me, and it's easily in my top 10 favorite movies. So I was just excited to get to fight for that character because I do feel so strongly that it's one of the best performances in film. Like he's really
just every interaction that he has in that movie is just like, even though like Joe like kind of jokingly talked about it being like Bond villain-esque, but like it's just so deliciously evil sometimes, and not like that he's being evil, but he's just so smug, and I love it. I love that movie.
And I want to clarify what I meant when I said Bond villain-esque. We were watching the scene last night, or one of the scenes that sticks out in my mind last night is when they're threatening the guy who makes eyeballs. And the way he talks to him is when that guy's like, well, what do you expect me to do? I just expect Roy Batty goes, no, Mr. Eye Maker, I expect you to die. But that's me.
For me to even like, I feel like he's so different from any villain I've ever seen. And the fact that it's really just about him wanting to live more, to have like a little bit more life is really relatable.
Yeah.
You know?
It's kind of,
go ahead.
It's almost kind of like a misnomer to really call him a villain. He's really just more of an antagonist, which is a more neutral term. Because, you know, society is the villain.
Like, he does things out of desperation as his expiration date basically approaches in front of him. Anybody would get desperate if they had a countdown clock knowing when their life was going to end put in front of them. Mm-hmm. And I think it just
I just always feel bad. I always feel bad in the beginning of the movie when they're doing the VoIP contest on Kowalski, and he doesn't know what a tortoise is, and he's just so upset that, well, why wasn't I helping him? Like, I'm not a bad person. Like, why are you doing this to me? And it's very easy to see why he would, because they don't have this, like, all the same humanity skills that we do to go, okay, well, like, you've reached my, like, I'm at my apex, my next thing to do is this. And it's easy to see why he lashed out, because they're trying to trigger a response. And I think there's like a good social message in the second movie, even though it's delivered by Jared Leto, where he's talking about we've lost the stomach for slavery, so we had to manufacture it, and just like the messed up, like where I felt like Tyrell was like, he was a benevolent person, like he wanted to do more for the replicants and give them more life, but he couldn't do it because he was bound by society. But like Wallace is pure evil, and like, I want to build millions so that we can conquer the universe. And
yeah, I feel like, I know you guys aren't Game of Thrones people, but Cal's in the chat and he'll probably appreciate this. I feel like we were watching some of the prominent scenes, and we watched the Dr. Tyrell's death scene, and he straight up like smashes his head like Oberyn Martell. Like that scene in Game of Thrones has to be a homage to Blade Runner in a way, because it's straight up a very similar type situation, and it's kind of unique. It's not, you don't see everybody get their thumbs in their eye sockets and their head kind of crushed. So yeah. I think it was a little bit inspired by that.
What else?
Well, I love the point that y'all brought up was like, when they're talking to Harrison Ford, here's the scene from Tears in the Rain where Harrison Ford has no lines.
Yeah.
I'm sure that really went over well with Harrison Ford.
We were just watching like interviews, and to see Rutger Hauer like talk about his character, like he just knew so much about his own Ford. He
had passion about it, just like felt so honored that he got to play this role, and spoke on how beautiful this movie was to film. And then you would see Harrison Ford and he was like, oh, it was raining all the time and it was shitty, and it, you know, like they had a very different attitude, and I feel like you can sense a little bit of that when you watch the movie.
Just because Rutger Hauer is a slightly better human being.
Cal saying Tyrell is a family in Game of Thrones as well, so I guess that George Martin must be a fan.
Nice.
It's not surprising. He's a sci-fi guy.
It would make sense. A lot of people probably are. Like I'm now firmly in the camp that Dune is a prequel to Blade, or a sequel to Blade Runner.
Are you in the same camp that Aliens is in the same universe as Blade Runner? Because Ripley Scott thinks that. Ripley.
No. But only because of with Covenant coming out, screwing up all the lore of Alien as it is, maybe. But the replicants don't function like the androids do.
Well, could the androids be a replacement for replicants?
I don't think it's that far in the future.
I don't remember the
original
timeline.
Alien, yeah.
I have to look at it, but I don't know.
Ridley
Scott does. And I like that there's like, if you look at 2049 and tubes, you see like Batista's original model. You can see one that does look like a Promethean.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That could also just be like one of those homage type situations.
Yeah. No, I know. Just like
paying tribute.
Are like Star Wars and Indiana Jones are necessarily in the same universe, but Indiana Jones found those hieroglyphics with C-3PO and R2 on them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Same thing with E.T. and Star Wars.
Well, Luke has made it a species at the Galactic. That's canon now.
Gleeborg and all them.
But what was the other one I was thinking of? Before Aliens versus Predator was even a thing, there were alien skulls in the Predator spaceship in Predator 2.
Oh, yeah, so I mean Predator. Wow. It's all linked.
So whoever's like spying on all of us for our Hollywood ideas is going to make a big shared universe of all these different properties.
It's going to have like Captain America being on a train eventually, and he's going to fight for rebellion against Ed Harris.
So on CinemaSins for Snowpiercer, it was like, man, so Chris Evans he started out as the Human Torch, but then he was in that movie called The Iceman, and then he was frozen in a block of ice as Captain America. Soldier? what's going on? And then later on, they're like, well, here's the obligatory Chris Evans saves his best friend on a train scene, or his best friend dies on a train scene.
Nice.
It was pretty funny how they like kept they're just calling him like gruff Captain America the entire time.
Yeah, grizzled Cap.
Hi, Kitty.
This is Beatrice.
She's our most recent family member.
She's the most behaved
She
sometimes.
has the same pattern on her head as Mavis, just in different colors.
She's real sweet.
Not to the other cats, though. But I think that's most of it.
Yeah, we're gonna go on Twitter now. Y'all are welcome to stay in the show or whatever while we look at fun tweets.
We're doing our Twitter part where we bring up all the people that tweeted us and everything else. And y'all are welcome to stick around and make commentary on it. So
Sure. We'll stick around.
All right, so this was our clue that was not very secretive. Because we're trying to write these riddles, but we need to like up our game because like so many people were like, "It's this movie," and they were right. And then it's like, man, now I can't get more people to respond because everybody guessed. So yeah, this is a little graphic I made. It's a post-apocalyptic movie that will take you on a ride, stay on track, and your guess won't come up cold because it was cold in the movie. There's a train. It's just like a random gray and white little tracks that I found. Try to not be too giveaway. And so yeah, immediately like Brian, like
and it was like within 8 minutes of posting the question.
Yeah, and then Cal was like, yeah, it's most likely Snowpiercer, if not The Road with Viggo Mortensen, which I've never heard of, so that could be a fun one.
That's a depressing movie.
And then yeah, Nolan Snowpiercer, Langley Snowpiercer, but his mind went to Mad Max Fury Road first, which is what I was trying to subvert with, but then it's like, wait, if people watch our show, they'll know we already reviewed that, so it can't be Mad Max Fury Road. But there were other Mad Max movies that involved things, but not cold. And then yeah, the whole cold thing gave it away. And then Justin, yeah, Snowpiercer. Janine thought Zombieland, and for some reason the Twitter thinks it's Dutch. I don't know why.
Zombieland.
Yeah, Chase Snowpiercer. Thief of Hearts, Snowpiercer, Holmesy sounds like Snowpiercer, and then Tom, Interstellar. That's a cold planet you really don't want to end up on. Just ask Matt Damon. Which then I thought, isn't that The Martian? Or I don't know, or is Matt Damon in both of those movies?
He's in both.
Matt Damon's always lost, and people are always getting him. Both Interstellar and The Martian.
Okay. I've seen neither.
Yeah,
so.
I mean, the movies are usually called Find Matt Damon.
Matt Damon needs to be rescued again. Yeah, there's like a teacher's edition of that book that takes all the cuss words out. And then this is my favorite comment. It's probably Snowpiercer, but can one hope it's Train to Busan?
Is a zombie flick.
Yeah, which I was like, oh man, I need to see that movie. But
My
yeah,
guess
that was
throw mama off the train.
because he's so cold to his mom.
Hey-o.
Yeah, exactly. You got it. So we have a question in the chat. Things done though, so I don't want to subvert the.
Yeah, you're fine.
Yep.
Eric's basically asking us had we got the male versions of the pairings that we got in with Lana, if we got the male partners, how we would have chosen to argue that.
I think Bob and Archer would be great. And like I said it on Twitter, it'd be double the H. John Benjamin, and I'm fine with that.
I had a harder time because I think we really got lucky getting Leslie Knope because she is so agreeable and like wonderful that really she could be a great pairing with anyone. So I think I would have had a much harder time had to fight Ben.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah, if we had gotten Bob and Archer, we would have had a lot easier time because we know those characters better. Like, we've literally never seen an episode of How I Met Your Mother, and with this,
basically, if if our second character was anyone other than the people from How I Met Your Mother, we would have been much better off.
Yeah, because we could have fought that a lot easier. So yeah, a lot of the beginning of that fight was, let's glitter some generalities. I was like, okay, what can I say? I'm just gonna make up some random stuff, and then like, oh yeah, they have the same initials our characters do. But they could steal our monogrammed.
They have it even more with Leslie and Lana because their second initials are also the same.
Yeah.
Considering, I'm sorry to interrupt you. Considering Archer universe that Bob was a like false personality he once had. Like Archer was Bob at one point himself, and that's a little sad.
Archer loves himself so much he'd be okay
It
with it.
would be.
The only thing I regret is that I would have loved to argue for Marshall, because Marshall Erickson is like such a, again, like you guys are missing out. How I Met Your Mother is not perfect, but it's really worth it for Marshall and Lily, because they're awesome. Like particularly Marshall, he's one of my favorite characters of all time. So there's so many great things about that character that I would have been able to work with as well.
He genuinely gets excited if like Bigfoot's brought up. Like he is just an excitable character. Like he has his like passions and stuff like that that translate really well. Oh my god, Slapsgiving.
They take their honeymoon at Loch Ness so he can go like monster hunting at Loch Ness. But like he's just, I love Jason Segel. He's like one of my celebrity crushes. Like he's such an adorable, like he's an adorable babe to me, and I will fight for his nude scene and any other freaking scene he's in, because he's just so great. And my favorite character from him is easily Marshall. He's awesome.
They're gonna say I would fight for his nude. I'm like, whoa, calm down.
We did fight involving him nude at one point.
Yes, on a different fan fiction. But yeah, that was because I don't remember like if Jack ever said there was going to be like a plot twist or whatever. But it's like, really, you couldn't have done plot twist for round one, because that would have been hard.
Yeah, how difficult would it have been trying to have, or if you were forced to argue for Roy Batty being the worst performance?
She wouldn't have been able to.
That would have ruined me. Like, to be honest, if I didn't get Roy Batty in that round, I was going to lose. Because, like, if you guys were fighting Roy and I wasn't fighting Roy, there's no way that I would be, like, able to be that disingenuous and just, like, say bad things. I can't.
The reason I almost wanted to pick Pris more was because that's not how the character was written. Like, all the acrobatic stuff and how she was dressed and like that. Like, people who came and auditioned and stuff were very robotic and stuff. And the actress wanted to figure out a way to separate herself. And so she was good at acrobatics. She like had she made her own little outfit and did like the makeup stuff. And they loved it so much that they cast her and used it for the movie.
That's awesome.
Which also probably set a lot of the tone of the style of the movie too, because Pris seems very contemporary with the style of everything going on around her.
Yeah, I like Pris. I think she's like a better Harley Quinn than Harley Quinn is in the recent incarnation, because like her fighting style is exactly how I would want to see Harley Quinn portrayed, you know?
I definitely see Pris being an influence on her.
For sure, yeah.
Totes.
Yeah, but it was a fun fight all around, even though like it was a little nerve-wracking because like you guys are such good friends of ours. It's like, man, I don't want to fight our friends, but I've always wanted to do this kind of thing where we get to partner up with somebody, and like I really want the next one, like if we could ever pull it off, to be like us against like, you know, like me and Joe, you guys, and then like Brian and Matt, if we could find Matt.
Where is Matt?
I know, but I think I would want to see a Matt fighting style, and just like, you know, like a little showdown of all the channel people would be fun.
What's up?
Drunken Fist.
He's drunken style, he said, is Matt's fighting style.
Drunken style
But,
night.
yeah, I always hate fighting like like obviously everybody in the group is close, but some are still like extra close, and like fighting you guys in particular is rough, because I went back and I like clicked on the video to like give it a thumbs up and stuff, and I just look so mean when I'm fighting. Like my face looks so shitty and rude the whole time. Like I feel terrible because I'm like, I look so mean. I hope like I don't want to come off.
You know, it's no big deal. Like we know that we're all friends, and if people don't get that, then you know, we'll have a talk with them. Because yeah, at the end of the day, yeah, sometimes you can't help how you look when you fight, and you know, we're all friends. It was no big deal. Like, you know, we're very happy that you guys won. We're happy that we got at least at 1 point. Like that's always my goal. Just get 1 point so you don't like have a, you know, a bad time. It was fun.
It was really close. Like it came down to the final round for sure. It just kept going back and forth between it, and like we would have been glad if you guys won, obviously too. It's really more about the experience of doing it and having a good time, and Like, I think that stating your opinions about the movie and getting that out there is almost more important than anything else.
Yeah, and I know Jack was saying during the fight, like, he did not expect the post-apocalyptic round to go the way it did, and just, like, the arguments we were having. So I thought that, you know, when you can always surprise people, I think that's good.
Well, what I was thinking about the entire time we were trying to do, like, the twisted Wally fight, like, like making it seem so bleak and stuff, Joe's...
Doctor Who.
His Doctor Who.
His Doctor Who thriller. And I was like, all right, I got to make it sound like... So, if you don't know, guys don't know what I'm talking about, track down that
Yeah, that's
episode.
old school.
Yeah. You do a highlight
So.
reel.
Yeah, the last thing we got to do before we go, because we got to take a little break before we start our 2049 stream on our Geek to My Nerd channel. 64, whatever. 2049, 2064, some year in the future. We need to choose a winner for our drawing. So everybody that tweeted at us, I put them on a list. And if Tom and Kimber, if you could give me a number between 1 and 11, that will be the winner.
Nine.
No, I said no.
All right, number 9 is Justin, and I think Justin's in the chat. So we will be contacting you, Justin, and you win your choice of either a BFF sticker or a lovely Nubia design. So we'll be getting in contact with him shortly.
We will.
I don't know if you can tell, but Tom likes Justin.
Yes.
Yeah, I love everybody who participated, but I'm like, I want Justin to win this. Right?
It was just
His
random.
reaction
So.
Look at his reaction.
Yeah, congratulations, Kristen. And that's all we have. Is there anything that you guys would like to plug before we jet?
Well, this coming week, we have another Mormozine this Tuesday, a Mormozone with Mormozine this Tuesday, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We have an Encrypted Wednesday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We'll be talking about the Loch Ness Monster. During the week, we'll be putting up Let's Plays, Animal Crossing, Fallout,
Pokemon,
Nuzlocke Pokemon. And be sure to follow us this coming, not tomorrow, but next Monday, for our Halloween party of Odd Shape Panel. We're going to be doing costume contests, 3 prizes. We posted them online, so if you're interested enough, you'll find them at Odd Shape Panel or at
Kimberbatch_OSP, and also we should be doing another Space Time Rewind soon.
Yes.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm looking forward to all those recaps, and we need to catch up on all the little videos that y'all have done.
All the vids.
Again, you can follow us on Twitter. I am at @_Mrs. Davis.
And I'm at Drake Masters. My name is like right here somewhere in this area. I'm not very good at finding where it is on camera. But also at the Tough Channel this week, do you guys got a twofer coming out this week?
Yeah, we have one more in our first season. We're going to be doing Get Out with the original Stepford Wives. We might run a little late with that, though.
Yeah, I don't know if it's going to be this coming week or the week after, because we've spent most of our time preparing for this fight.
Also, Randall might be stopping by this week. He's going to be in New York, and Delisha and Cal are going to be visiting us as well, so this week's a little hectic for us.
It's Kimber's birthday in 4 days.
Yeah.
I think a new DVD bunker just hit this past Friday.
Yeah.
For The Gate.
Yes.
I think it was The Gate. So yeah, lots of good stuff to check out on all the channels. Again, our Let's Play will be at 9 Eastern and over Chapter 4 of Read Only Memories 2064. So please join us for that. It's a super dark game, guys.
Surprisingly dark for as colorful and pretty as it is.
Seriously.
But it's super fun.
For such a dark game,
It's
you got
like-
a cute reply yesterday.
Yes.
I did. It was exciting. It's really nice that they're paying attention to that kind of stuff. It's almost like Wall-E levels of dark because everything is so colorful and cheerful and pretty, and it's underlying this incredibly dark and depressing world. So,
But anyway, that's all we have.
thank you for joining us, Tom and Kimber.
We really appreciate it.
Of course. Anytime.
Anytime.
Yeah.
And
we'll be back in November for whatever is the
Another
next
BFF.
BFF. We don't know what it will be.
we won't know until about maybe the Friday before.
Yeah, and we'll tweet out another obvious clue, and everybody will guess right.
And we'll have a very difficult time getting it sent out. We'll try to figure it out from there.
Yeah, because that's going to be on every time we have fan fiction. It's always on like the busiest weekends of our lives, so we'll be super prepared. And thank
As
you.
always.
Yes, and thank you, Tom, for wearing your BFF shirt.
Bum, 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 bum.
Mavis looks distressed.
Thank you for wearing an OSP shirt.
I'll no problem.
Yeah.
Always.
All right, well, now that we've said goodbye 1,000 times, just like in Romeo and Juliet, we'll say goodbye 1,001 and end the stream.
Everyone have a lovely evening. Thanks for popping in.